Welcome to this episode of Behind the Docs, presented by Evan Guthrie Law Firm. I'm attorney Evan Guthrie, and today we're going to be reviewing the original inventory of the estate of Prince Rogers Nelson, better known as the musical artist Prince, or the artist. And he passed away in April of 2016, and the inventory is basically just listing all the things he had in his name when he passed away, and just going over a list and all the values and just cataloging everything. So it's kind of interesting to see what was in his estate when he passed away. And this is going to be in the state of Minnesota, county of Carver, and this is going to be the original. So this is going to be the first sort of crack at inventorying all his estate. So probably what's likely is, since there's a lot of question marks in such a large estate with a lot of moving parts, it's got to be amended and updated in the future. But this was just the first attempt back in 2016 to inventory his estate. And then it's going to say that you had Bremer Trust National Association, which was sort of a personal representative of the estate. So they were professional personal representative of the estate. So the Prince did not have a will. So the court appointed a special administrator, a personal representative, to manage the estate. And since it's such a large estate, it's not something that sort of an average person might be able to handle. So it's kind of best suited for a professional to sort of take a look at and be able to handle it properly, since there are so many moving parts and lawsuits and many different things that are going on in the estate. And then it just says this is a standard form for inventorying an estate. It says that it's a true and correct inventory of the date of death of the property of the estate, both real and personal. So real property would be like land or house, and personal would just be personal items that somebody owns, possessions. And appraisal of any asset has been made, the name, address, and each appraiser uses included. And after diligent search and inquiry concerning the assets, the following is a list of estate assets by category. So this is kind of different schedules of what's going to be listed in the estate. And the first page usually just is called a recapitulation, or just a sort of a summary of everything. So you can kind of see sort of the high values of Schedule A, the real estate, and some of the other things that are involved, stocks, bonds, securities, bank accounts, other personal property, and mortgages and liens. So it just kind of lists everything's up. And you see some of the $25 million, which is going to be the highest right now, but there might be some other assets that once they're valued might be a little bit higher than that. And then the subtotal is TBD, to be determined. And then also the other total minus the mortgage and liens, also to be determined. So it's something that's going to have to be updated and amended once you get sort of all that value listed in the fair market value. And then number 2, it says a copy of this inventory is to be mailed to a survivor of the estate. So Prince's estate, he didn't have any natural children that have been sort of validated or authenticated yet, but he did have several brothers and sisters, half brothers and sisters, that were able to sort of share in his estate. So that's kind of the people that are going to be his beneficiaries. So they're being made aware of this inventory throughout the estate, and then they get mailed every single updates and doing that. So this is something that they're being kept updated on. And then it says, under penalties of perjury, I declare or affirm I have read the inventory and I know and believe its representation is to be true and complete. So that's going to be as special administrator, the Bremer Trust sort of vice president there is listed that. So they're signing off on saying that, to the best of their knowledge, that everything here is going to be true. So they're not sort of hiding any assets or sort of hiding the ball or doing that. So again, just general instructions. This is sort of how to fill it out if you were trying to do it on your own, or not a professional attorney or administrator trying to do this. And just again, it says the appointment of appraiser is not always necessary. So if you kind of value some of the items, you can give their values without having somebody just professional do it. And then the values reported should always be on the date of death. So April 2016, even if those values go up in 2018 or 19, it's going to be locked in at 2016 values of everything that's going to be in the estate. All right, and then it's going to be Schedule A. So this is kind of the biggest listed currently. So it's just saying all the real estate or land or houses that are in the estate. So item number one is going to be probably the most famous one. It's going to be his Paisley Park residence recording studio. Now it's kind of a museum and showcase of sort of all things Prince. They're kind of turn it into a sort of a Graceland. That's kind of like when Elvis in Memphis. This can be a sort of people can go on tours and sort of see how Prince lived and sort of visit everything and have a museum and gift shop and everything. So I think it was reported that the same people that are managing Graceland are going to be managing Paisley Park. So they're going to be turning it to a sort of a tourist attraction. So that's valued at $6.7 million. And again, that was just the county assessor's value. The fair market value is probably going to be a lot higher than that. And it says valuation and process. So it's just, again, sort of getting the first inventory in, and then they'll go ahead and update it once they get a sort of a correct evaluation. And then that's a case where you definitely would want a professional appraiser to value something that sort of has intangible asset value more so than just an average house, because again, it's a tourist attraction, a museum. It's something that's probably going to be going on in perpetuity and earning money and everything. So just getting a proper value on that is going to be really important as far as administering the estate. And then number two is he's got 156 acres that has no address, so it's just a really big piece of land there. And the again, valuation process, but they had it as $12.399 million. So that's definitely a large piece of land that was able to do that. And again, you got some more sort of land, vacant lot. You have other real estate sort of items they're listed there. And again, more real estate value. Just sort of lots, addresses, and real estate value. And you're going to see the total is going to be $25,431,900 as far as doing that. And that's just, again, what they know right now. It's just sort of the tax value total. So the real determination is kind of be when they get a professional appraiser, it's probably going to be a lot higher than that amount. But just getting something down for the original amount first. It'll be updated at a later time. And then Schedule B is going to be stocks, bonds, and other securities. And apparently Prince did not have any stocks or bonds. Didn't play the stock market, so he didn't have any stocks. Bank accounts. So it's just this is Bremer Bank. So the same company that's sort of handling his administration of the state is. It's like he had some bank accounts, and also some business bank accounts. They were able to do that. So can't imagine really Prince updating and balancing his checking account. So it's just everything is sort of in his name, but again, it's kind of a lower amount than one would sort of anticipate for bank accounts as far as doing that. And this probably be the biggest one is Schedule D, other personal property. So this is going to be everything else that's listed in the estate as far as doing that. And then there's going to be refunds, wearing apparel, household goods, automobiles, furniture, business interests, and those would be the biggest ones as far as the companies he owned, his music, and everything else. That's going to be the biggest items are doing that. So the music company, the record label he had, Paisley Park Enterprises, that's a Minnesota corporation. He was a sole shareholder, so he owned 100% of it. And cash on hand, $86,000. Real estate, the tax test value, $1.8 million. Trademarks are going to be attached, so that's going to be something that can definitely have a lot of value as far as the trademarks. Copyrights and master recordings, the title confirmation is in process, but more than likely it's kind of in dispute. Early in his career, Prince was sort of in a dispute with Warner Music Group, Warner Brothers, as far as who owned his masters, who owned that. But later in his career, he was able to sort of get his freedom and retain 100% control of his masters. But again, title confirmation is in process. So kind of the in-between period of who owns those songs is probably going to have to be up to some litigation and those rights. But definitely a lot of his early music can be sort of battled over as far as who owns the title of those master recordings. Vehicles, you can see that his record company had a decent number of vehicles: a Ford Thunderbird, Jeep Grand Cherokee, Lincoln Town Car, a Cadillac Roadster XLR, Mercedes-Benz, Lincoln, BMW, a Bentley, and the Cadillac Limo, and a Plymouth Prowler. So a lot of a fleet of cars for his record label there. And then you had his other record company, NPG Records, New Power Generation Records. He was also the sole shareholder of that. So it's just kind of the Paisley Park was kind of his. The New Power Generation record might be some other artists and other musical interests that he was involved in as far as doing that. And it says cash on hand, 4.7 million, so definitely a large amount of cash. The trademarks are going to be again attached as an exhibit, and then the copyrights and master recordings are going to be attached in Exhibit 2. So we'll get to that a little bit later. And these are the ones that are confirmed titles to date. So there might be a lot of other sort of titles floating around out there that have yet to be confirmed as far as who owns them and who's going to do that. And then you have arbitration receivable estimated is 6.8.75 million. So any disputes that he had with any other sort of distribution or record sales or anything kind of else money as far as the record company is, he has money that's owed to him in the amount of $6.8 million as far as the estate. And then you had the publishing company. So you had MPG Music, New Power Generation Music Publishing. So when you write a song, you have what's called publishing rights to the song. So you have recording rights, which is kind of the sound. The publishing is like kind of the musical notes and everything else. So those are definitely like sort of half the value of the song. So definitely whenever you publish a song or use it in any public performance or anything else, you have those publishing rights that have to be paid out. So that's going to be his publishing company as far as doing that, and that's going to continue to generate income after his death. So it says cash on hand, 1.3 million, real estate, trademark, and again, copyrights and compositions. So that's going to be attached in Exhibit 3. So you have all the copyrights that he had in those songs that he wrote, as far as the lyrics or any kind of music that's involved in that. It's going to be attached as Exhibit 3. And then you have a receivable from Tidal, which is a streaming service owned by Jay-Z that he was able to license some of the music to the streaming service for $750,000. That deal was kind of, I guess, in question later on as far as that. But again, that's money that was owed to him as part of, I guess, the original deal. Then you have another company called Lotus Flower LLC. He was the sole member of that. It says cash on hand, $56,000. So that's probably just a smaller company who had an interest in. Number 5 is going to be really interesting. He had gold bars. So apparently Prince was a prepper where he had his money, not in paper money, but he also had the 10-ounce gold bars. And that's going to be $836,000. And funny enough, that's kind of the only thing that's kind of sort of fixed in value. So you know the date of gold on the date of his death and the 10-ounce bars. So per ounce, you can calculate how much the gold was worth on that date. So that's kind of the only one that's kind of fixed in stone as far as any of his personal items here. Household furniture and furnishings. So again, it may not be that much value if it was just owned by a typical person, but since it's owned by Prince, it definitely has a little bit more value that can be sold on the open market and auctioned off as far as the value. So it's really just cataloging all his possessions. The same thing with music instruments. If the average person were to have a guitar, it may not be worth that much, but a guitar owned by Prince definitely has a lot more value. So just valuing that. His tour equipment, his awards. So if that's ever sold, collectibles and memorabilia, so photographs, fine art, posters, fan art, jewelry, merchandise, business records. And again, lyrics, letters, manuscript, these are all items just because they have inherent value. And there are probably a lot of them floating around. It's just it says valuation in progress and process as far as just getting all those values. And then you had automobiles titled in Prince's name himself. He had a 1964 Buick Wildcat, a BMW, a Buick Electra, the 1984 BMW, and interestingly, he had the Purple Rain motorcycle and the Graffiti Bridge motorcycle. So the motorcycles he used in those movies, he didn't sell, he kept, and he probably rode them around as far as just having those. So definitely have a lot of value to those beyond just the regular sort of motorcycle, so inherent value. So again, the valuations and process. The copyrights and unreleased music, that's going to be kind of all the music that hasn't been released yet that he's recorded, is it has associated copyrights that can be copyrighted. and again, it has inherent value in that. The name and likeness rights. So again, anything in perpetuity that's prints or using as image in a commercial or anything else that has value is that to be protected. It has its own value. Again, it sounds like you have another kind of LLCs and other enterprises that are kind of floating out there that has been either dissolved or not in use at the time. Is you have all these other sort of things that are floating out there that have never been completely extinguished, but just listed. And then probably the biggest items that are going to be in the estate, in addition to the real estate, is going to be number 52 and number 53, is the unreleased vault recordings. So this is kind of a literal vault that Prince had that had hundreds, if not thousands, of songs and videos that he'd record and not release. And eventually there's already been one album that's been released, but reportedly there's enough for tens, possibly hundreds of albums that can be released or streamed or everything like that. So that has the evaluation and process could be several million, $100 million. Again, it's kind of unknown as far as the exact value of how much that would be, but again, it still has to be estimated, and also the unreleased videos for any kind of songs that he did or videos. And then liens is going to be sort of mortgages or liens, or anything against any assets of the estate. So this does not include any debts or any kind of litigation that are going on as far as the estate that might be opened or sort of still being contested. This just sort of liens are already on record. And the one that they listed here was they had a Revelations perfume and cosmetics. There's a default judgment in the sum of $40.4 million. And it says it's paid prior to his death, but not of record. So again, it sounds like he's all settled up with that sort of that lien or debt. But again, it hasn't been on record yet as far as being solved. And then, just lists zero as far as mortgages and liens. And then now that's going to be it for the inventory. And then just kind of list the exhibits. So kind of referenced Exhibit 1 is going to be all his trademarks. So you have all the different countries that sort of he operated out during his lifetime as far as all this. And a lot of it's going to be, a lot of his songs were recorded as entertainment services and clothing, any kind of design. So you have like the artist sign. So while he was kind of in transition between being Prince and Warner, and he sort of had no name, it was called the artist, he had the sign. So that was trademarked. Then you have Paisley Park, and again, these are all these recordings that were trademarked and inventoried. Then you have Prince in Canada, and you have also the sign, the artist in China, all his recordings. And Paisley Park was in China as well. And the EU, his sign, so all of Europe, the European Union, Paisley Park, Prince, Japan. So these are all the big markets, I guess, for his music. Europe, Japan, China, United States, Canada. And the last one's going to be United States, where you have all his the artist sign. You have the New Power Generation. And again, more of a sign, a trademark, even down to jewelry, guitar straps, guitar picks, mugs, drinking glasses. So anything you can trademark, I guess, with the sign is going to be just owned by Prince. So he's able to do that. And this is really important because you have all of his, again, likenesses and things. You don't want it being exploited if you're administering a estate. And then there's been a couple lawsuits already where his trademarks and all of his copyrights have already been sort of bootlegged and sort of released. So it's just protecting all these things. It just gives them the legal authority to pursue any claims if they're being exploited or used against the permission of the estate. Then you also have the Third Eye Girl, the New Power Generation, Paisley Park. So you have all his U.S. registrations here. And it keeps going. Prince and the Revolution, Prince Tribute, Purple Rain, The Time, so that's his other group that he sort of put out there. Vanity Six, another group he put out there. Prince in the UK. And this is going to be Exhibit 2. So you have all the masters of some of the copyrights for a song is publishing. So you have a list of first by album name and then by song title. So you can list the hundreds of songs he has here, and it just goes on and on and on by album. So you have Crystal Mall album, the Truth album, the Vault album, and it keeps going. So definitely a list of a lot of songs here. A lot of songs they had masters to. And again, these are just the confirmed masters. There's a lot of them they're still trying to confirm as far as doing that. So there might be something that's added to at a later time. So definitely keeps going. A lot of songs. And again, it's going to be sort of the other one is the publishing company that they have able to confirm the publishing rights to these songs. And again, these are just ones that may not have the masters to, but again, they still have the publishing rights. So you have the Bat Dance, the Batman. So a lot of some of this Warner stuff that he may not have full access to the masters, but he still has some rights as far as the publishing because he did write the songs, he did do the music, so he has those rights. Again, it just keeps going. And more. So you have hundreds of songs here. And again, it's just something that's going to be added to because he has the vaults as far as just more songs to be added to this. So this list could definitely double or triple as far as just adding the new songs to the list. All right. And you have 13 pages of songs here. So definitely a lot of songs that he is able to record during his lifetime. All right. And then that's going to be it for the inventory of the estate of Prince Roger Nelson. Thank you very much for being here today.